All right, welcome to another edition of the Coffee Break Podcast. We are here this morning with Keenya Justice, and we are going to have an exciting conversation. The Coffee Break Podcast's mission is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our morning cup of coffee. I'm the only one that has coffee this morning, but
I had coffee.
It's coffee and water, and we'll talk more about what she's into coming up right after this.
Got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh yeah.
All right, welcome back. I'm excited to have a conversation with you. So a couple of months ago, I was talking to Leslie Bloom from the Community Association Institute, CAI, which we're both industry partners with, and I was chatting with her about the podcast and about some of the guests we've had on here. And I said, is there anybody in the CAI network that would be a really good person to talk to? And like without even like a second thought, it was you need to get a hold of Keenya. And I was like,
That's
okay.
interesting that she said that.
Yeah,
I have no idea why.
All right, hopefully we'll find out.
Okay.
Well, so that's kind of the start of all this, and we've been having an email conversation for the last little bit to get this coordinated. So thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be here.
My pleasure.
Really looking
Thanks
forward
for
to it.
having me.
So part of the Coffee Break Podcast, we have a recurring segment on here called Rapid Fire. We do 5 random questions
Ooh.
just to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your mind.
First thing.
You ready?
Okay. I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1. If you had 1 extra hour in your day that you could do anything with, what would you choose?
Sleep.
Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get a lot of sleep?
No.
Why not?
I have 2 kids who are 16 and 14.
Okay.
And 2 businesses. So,
Takes a
the
little bit
the
of time.
justice firm in InterCity. So, yeah, I'm busy.
There you go. All right. Sleep is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. That's a fair answer.
I tie that with exercise, but knowing me, I'd really rather sleep. I should exercise, but I'd rather sleep.
Understood. That's fair. All right. Number 2. What game show would you be super awesome at?
Oh, I can't even think of game shows right now. I'd like to say Jeopardy, but it's probably more like, what was the show? I don't know the name of it. The Family Feud one.
Family Feud?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it'd be Family Feud.
Family Feud is a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Steve Harvey makes it a little more interesting.
I was going to say it depends on the host. Yeah.
But yes, okay. Family Feud. All right, number 3. What was your first job?
Oh, my first job, I worked at Rye Playland, which is an amusement park.
Okay.
And I worked in the games section of that, getting people to toss quarters on plates so that they could win a big teddy bear.
How often did people get it?
Not very often.
What was the snag on it? Was it?
It was a big plate, and they were far away, and the coins would just bounce off, and yeah.
Did anybody ever win?
Oh yeah, people did win. It wasn't rigged or anything. People did win. It was just hard.
Where was this at?
In Rye, New York.
In Rye, New York. What part of New York is that in?
Westchester County, so just north of the city.
North of Manhattan?
Yeah. North of the Bronx.
North of the Bronx.
Which is north of Manhattan.
Oh, okay. I have no idea where that is, but I'll look it up on a map.
Okay.
All right, number 4. What is your most embarrassing moment from your teen years?
Oh, no way. Seriously? From my teen years. First of all, I'm just glad that we didn't have social media to record any of the teen years. I can't even remember the most embarrassing. I get really, it's like I'm having
nothing embarrassing
brain
ever
fart.
happened?
No, I'm sure there were, but you block it out. I'm like,
just to avoid it altogether.
Exactly. I have to think about that. I'm thinking through high school. I can't even think of one right now. Seriously, I mean, I've probably just blocked it out.
Just avoided it altogether. All right.
Yeah.
Last question. If you wrote a book, what would it be called?
Seriously?
That would be the call of the book.
Yeah, it's like exclamation question mark.
Seriously. Exclamation.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. All right, you
Yeah.
passed rapid fire. You got 643 points. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You did a fantastic job. Fantastic
Thank you.
job. So let's kind of get into the conversation. So you kind of alluded to it already. You've got two different businesses going on, but the thing that I knew you from first was the justice firm. So tell us a little bit about. First of all, with the last name like Justice, I mean, it's pretty legit.
It's my married name, but it
Yeah.
is my name.
Well, it works very well.
It works
the other
well.
question was that I forgot to ask you at the very beginning. You're not going to be billing me for this, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm contingency fee basis, 100%. So.
Every time I
Good question to ask, though.
Every
of a
time I sit
lawyer.
across the table from a lawyer, it ends up with a
Yes,
bill. So,
yes.
tell us a little bit about the justice firm and what your kind of mission is there.
So the justice firm represents victims of eminent domain, which is when the government takes private property for public use.
Okay.
We do that throughout the state on a contingency fee basis.
All right.
So North Carolina is a growing state, and we need more roads, more schools, more water and sewer capacity, and all of that goes through what was once somebody's private property.
Gotcha.
So that's what we help people do. Is
Hey, so you kind of help people navigate that process, or
yes,
what their rights
Yes.
are and all that.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. And it's in North Carolina, it's really hard to stop the taking. So we focus on getting people maximum compensation as a result of the
Gotcha.
taking.
So when it comes to that, because this is a topic that I'm very unfamiliar with. So from an education standpoint, for me or for anybody else that's watching or listening, where is this relevant? Yeah, I mean, obviously across the country,
Oh,
but
wow.
where would it be relevant if I was a homeowner? How do I need to be mindful of this?
Everywhere in North Carolina. If you're in North Carolina or any growing part of the country,
Okay.
you're going to be faced with eminent domain issues
Okay.
because we need more roads. As everybody knows, the roads, especially in Charlotte and your major cities, are very congested.
Okay.
We need some light rail to move people around and alleviate, the road congestion. We need water and sewer capacity because when we're building new subdivisions, you want to turn on the lights and they actually work. You want to, the water to run out of the faucet. So all of that has to come through somebody's property.
Sure.
And it's just fact.
So
it's everywhere.
What does
literally.
that process normally look like? Is like somebody just comes, knocks on your door, you get a letter? Like how does it?
So for your larger projects, the DOT or the city will have meetings about where they think a new road should go or a road widening. They'll invite feedback. They'll invite people who are affected to a meeting or a series of meetings. They'll want to hear the feedback from the community. Then they'll make a decision as to where the road is going to go or where the widening, who's going to be most, affected by the widening.
Gotcha.
At some point, a right-of-way agent will knock on your door and say, I'm sure you've heard about this project,
We've sent you 22
Right,
letters.
exactly. We're going to take, 50% of your front lawn, or unfortunately, you might have to be relocated. We're going to take your house, or,
Gotcha.
whatever the situation is, and they'll present an offer to that property owner. And I always tell the property owners, don't accept the offer, because if you accept it, that's all you're going to get.
Gotcha.
If you don't accept it, you're still going to get the money that's offered to you, which a lot of people don't know. Because
It's not going to go down.
It's not going to go down. It's based on an appraised value, and you should always ask for a copy of the appraisal report.
Gotcha.
Because usually they will not give you the whole report. They'll give you like 1 or 2 pages of an 80-page report.
So again, from an ignorant standpoint, what's the number of people that are affected by this in our state, at least on an annual basis? Like any estimate?
That is very hard to estimate.
Okay.
But I can tell you, I just spoke to a right-of-way agent just last week, and they said, they're working on a project coming up that has 300 parcels.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
I mean, there are thousands,
Okay.
Tens of thousands of people, I would say, at any point in time that are, their property is either, about to be taken, condemned, or, in the flow,
Gotcha.
in the pipeline.
Question for you: what got you into this?
That's a good question.
I would imagine it's like thinking through life here. I want to get into eminent domain. Like,
yeah. I always liked real estate. It's
Okay.
one of the reasons. I'm from New York originally. New York City. I came down here for law school. Got my MBA
Okay.
and my law degree at Carolina.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I stayed was because I knew I wanted to own real estate. I wanted to be involved in the real estate area in some way, and that's just very expensive to do in New York City. And so at the time, I was pregnant with our second child. My husband at the time was about to start pharmacy school in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And I was going to be, I was working on the trading floor at the time at one of the banks. And I was going to be here with a newborn, a toddler, and a husband in another city.
Gotcha.
And chained to a trading floor desk for 12 hours a day. And
Yeah.
I was like, I need to make a change.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I called a friend who used to be in private practice, who was no longer in private practice, and asked him just about sort of the pitfalls of private practice. And it just so happened that he was working at the AG's office at the time,
All right.
defending the state against eminent domain proceedings. And so we just got to talking about it, and I was like, I really feel like passionate, like something
Sure, yeah.
about that, being able to help people who are going to lose part or all of, what really is their biggest financial asset.
Yeah.
To the government, and unwillingly,
Yeah.
which is why I refer to them as victims of eminent domain.
Gotcha.
And so that was 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so it's just been something that is kind of, you've been growing in for
Exactly. I kind of follow the projects, and I have a narrow legal focus but a broad geographic focus, so I cover the whole state.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be kind of my next question was like, and kind of the direction I was going at earlier of what the quantity of this is, because it's something that only affects a certain number of people, and it's not something that I would imagine people are thumbing through the phone book or Google searching for.
They are when it affects
When
them.
it affects them, yeah.
Right. They are there, right on Google.
So
for sure,
it's one of these things that only when it
Yeah.
affects you. It's not something that
Exactly.
you're like, I need to make sure that I have
Right.
an eminent domain
Right.
lawyer on
Exactly.
standby.
Exactly.
So how are you staying
Exactly.
in front of these type of people
Exactly.
as their needs come up?
So one of the things I do is we follow the projects.
Okay.
And when the projects are before the actual right-of-way agent comes out and starts making offers, we will go out and invite people to come to an information session so they can learn about their rights.
Gotcha.
I answer any questions people have about the process. First of all, I explain the process
Sure.
to them, which most people don't know, to your point.
Yeah.
They have no reason to know. But I think it's very important for them to know that if they don't accept the offer, then they're still going to get the money that's offered to them.
Gotcha.
That's one thing that people just don't understand, that I'm glad that I'm having this opportunity to explain to people.
Yeah.
And that's because the Constitution says that the government can't take private property for public use without just compensation.
Sure.
So if you don't accept the offer, the government will file a condemnation to take title to the part of the property it needs in order to facilitate the project. But because of that, because they've taken title, they have to deposit what they think is the right amount of compensation
Gotcha.
at the courthouse in the county where the property is located. So they're going to get that money anyway, the property owner. What we do is we fight to get them more money.
Gotcha.
So
What if I'm hearing you correctly? When these types of projects happen, the Department of Transportation and everybody that's involved with it are doing public meetings, public hearings, so everybody
Yes.
kind of knows what's going on.
Right.
And you're doing the same thing on the reverse side of basically public education. Hey,
Exactly.
as this happens, this is the things,
Exactly.
the questions you need to ask. These are things you need
Exactly.
to be aware of.
Exactly. You should know that when they make you the offer, they're only going to give you pages 1 and 2 of what's probably like an 80 or 90 page appraisal report.
Gotcha.
You should ask for the whole report, because
Sure.
that's how they came up with that number and that the amount of money that they're going to deposit.
Interesting. One of the first times that I've ever had to deal with a right-of-way type process was we were doing a project for a community, putting some traffic control gates in.
Okay.
And we had to deal with the government on the right-of-way. They said, hey, you can't do anything
On the property they own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Good luck with your property,
Exactly.
but leave ours
And
alone.
it was so confusing. And at that point, it was like, again, it was just trying to learn about what makes sense, because this was a private community that had private roads that were not funded in any way, shape, or form by the state. And they said, you can't do anything up to this distance back in because we own that you own.
Right.
It was
Right.
so confusing. So
Yeah.
I think that there may be other questions that come alongside of that, outside of just somebody coming in and saying they're going to take part of your property.
Right.
So through this process that you've been dealing with, you use I would imagine networks like the Community Association Institute (CAI) to help to educate
Exactly.
potential victims or
Exactly.
folks that are going to be dealing with this.
Yeah.
How long have you been involved in that? Are there other things that you're involved with similar to that you're seeing good results out of?
So you're right. I really like CAI a lot. I had my first HOA case maybe in like 2008 or something like that.
Okay.
And I just realized that, the HOAs are run by boards, and the board members tend to be, they live in the community. They're volunteers. They're not getting paid. Again, to your point, nobody knows anything about eminent domain. The community will have attorneys that they use to enforce liens and foreclosures and things like that. But those attorneys may or may not know anything about eminent domain, and they charge by the hour. So it just seemed like a really good fit for me because, the community has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Let me come in, use my, 14 years of experience to help you in this situation. You don't pay me up front. You don't pay by the hour.
Yeah.
We get 1/3 of any additional compensation we get for you, and we take the matter off your plate.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be like more of these communities, in the area. There must be some trade organization or something like that. And so that's kind of how I got into CAI. And it has worked well because, when you work with the property managers, it makes them look better when the situation comes up because they're like, aha,
Yeah. I've
we
got
have
somebody for that.
right,
Yeah.
right. There's a plan for that. So, so it's worked well. And to your question, there's another group, it's called the HOA. I have a meeting with them on Thursday, actually.
Okay.
And that's the Asian American Hotel Operators Association.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So
and they own quite a few, like about 50% of the hotels in North Carolina.
Okay. Interesting. And so they would be affected by
eminent domain. Yeah, for sure.
So again, just kind of diving into your kind of understanding of something that you're dealing with on a regular basis that that obviously is not something that is a mass broadcasted, type of topic that people are constantly.
It's a niche for sure.
A very, very niche thing. Is how do you stay in front of people when they need that? And so you've seen some success with association like CAI, and so now you're looking for other associations like that, other than just staying ahead of projects.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Very interesting. All right, so all of that brings you to a new venture that you have,
Right.
which is called InterCity.
InterCity, yes.
What is this about, and how did you get involved with this?
So InterCity is a car service that is designed to get people from city to city and back home in the same day.
Okay.
So we're focusing on distances that are too long to drive and too short to fly. So like Charlotte to Atlanta is probably the farthest we'd go in a day and back, or Charlotte to Raleigh, or Charlotte to Fayetteville. The whole thing started really because of my work with the justice firm and because I cover the whole state. I would go to meetings or a hearing or mediation in Fayetteville, which, there is just no good way to get to Fayetteville from Charlotte. I don't care how you go. It's going to take you 3 hours to get there and 3 hours to get back. So that's 6 hours out of my day, right? And I'm held hostage to the steering wheel. I get home. I got to figure out dinner for the kids. I'm checking email. I'm thinking about all the work that didn't get done because I spent 6 hours driving. And I was like, why is there no solution for this? Like, this is just ridiculous. So that's kind of where it was born out of. And so what we're really trying to do is drive productivity so that people can get in the car, open their laptop, be productive en route. Go to their meeting. The car waits for you. Get back in the car. You can be productive on the way home and get home. And when you're home, you can be present at home and not have to, be scurrying around trying to figure out how do you make up for the lost time during that long commute.
So this is very interesting to me. I've run into the same situation time and time again, and the only solution that I've come up with is a chopper.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
And I have yet to convince everybody that this is a great idea.
It is a great idea.
So walk me through how this works. So I'm imagining this is a long-term Uber, but
sort of.
So tell me how.
So there's an app. It's downloadable for Android and Apple devices. If you go to rideintercity.com, you can learn more about that. But basically, it's we're focused on same-day round trips because that's really a pain point.
Yeah.
We're a startup first of all.
Yeah.
We've got to get that car back to its home base.
Yeah.
Eventually we'd like to do one-way trips. We'd like to have, Sprinter vans with a group of people. But for now, it's you get the car to yourself. We started out with a different business model, but for now, it's you have the car to yourself and it's door-to-door service.
Okay.
So we use existing transportation companies.
Okay.
So think, your black car service folks. They're professional drivers. These are drivers that are vetted through the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department.
Okay.
And so those are the people driving, and then you can get online and ask for a quote to the city where you need to go to. Tell us when you want to go, where you want to go. We'll give you a quote, and we'll pick you up.
So you need to go to Charleston for the day for a meeting,
yes.
And you need to instead of having your hands on the wheel for a 6.5, 7 hour round trip,
right? You
can, or depending on who's driving, maybe a 5.5 hour trip,
right? With a ticket, right?
You can do productive work while you're sitting there.
Exactly.
So is there, and you mentioned the Sprinter van so that you can bring larger groups. Is there?
We want to get to that point, but right now it's just individuals.
But if you were going there with a couple of associates.
Oh yeah, you can get in the car.
You could
for
have
sure.
2 or 3.
For sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we started out like as a ride share.
Yeah.
Thinking that people would share the ride and the cost of the ride.
Sure.
But doing the market research, because like you were always asking questions about, folks and how they, what they want, and so people didn't want to share the ride.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, all right, we'll do it this way.
Unless you want to share the ride,
right?
Unless
right. They didn't want to share with strangers.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see that. I would not be.
So
I don't know. I might enjoy that. So have a random conversation and ask them where they read their news.
Right.
It might get boring after a couple hours.
And one of the other interesting things about the same day round trip, what it also does, it eliminates the need for you to stay overnight.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will, they'll drive and they'll stay overnight. So, and that's can be inconvenient or expensive. And so, this way you can go there and come back and be productive.
That's very interesting.
And #be present.
Yeah. #be present.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. So how did this, you just kind of talked through how the idea came up, but so how are you taking this thing to market? Like, how are you letting people know about it? I think it's very valuable.
Thank you.
I mean, I could use that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk about that offline for sure. For sure. We're letting people know by, doing things like this.
Yeah.
The website, we've just are in talks now with a digital marketing firm that's going to sort of help us really get the word out about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, it's like, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And because just like you, we cover all of North and South Carolina, so it is not uncommon for sales reps to be traveling. As a service technician or something, you're driving a van that has tools in it, but a sales rep or something like that would be going to and from.
Right.
And I mean, even just a couple of weeks ago, myself and somebody else took a trip to Raleigh and back in a day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and exactly what you're saying.
Been there. And why didn't you take the train?
I didn't even think about taking a train.
The train does go to Raleigh, but it's not very. It goes to Raleigh, but it doesn't get me there in time for when I need to be there.
I would tell you like that I wouldn't have
10
even
o'clock
thought of
calendar call.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought about a train because once I got to where I needed to go, I would want to have the ability to go where I needed to go,
right?
Rather than get somewhere and then have to take
get
other
somewhere
transportation,
else. Right.
So once you, I'm just thinking through this process. So once you do that, you've got a meeting. you just essentially have hired this car for a day.
For the day, exactly.
So I need to go to lunch or whatever the case may be throughout this process. That's
exactly
very interesting.
Thanks.
I could probably come up with a lot of questions. So how did you've got other partners with this? So
yes.
Where do these folks come from? You just some people that
organically. Yeah, my neighbors down the street, Renato Cabral and Aaron Darcy. They're software engineers, and so they
handling the app
exactly,
part of it. Okay.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So Eminent Domain, figuring out how to transport people from city to city. And you said the farthest that you're really looking at is like a
sort
mileage?
of like a 4-hour one way radius would be sort of the outer limits of what we're doing.
And it would be
because we want to do the round trip.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Back in the day.
That's a great idea.
So thank you.
Yeah, high five on that.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So for more information about kind of all of these things that you're working on, the Justice Firm,
thejusticefirm.com.
Okay.
And rideintercity.com.
Ride Intercity, and that's INTER.
Yes, CITY.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for coming by and chatting today.
It's my pleasure.
I've learned something.
Awesome.
So
my pleasure. It's been fun.
Yeah. So if anybody has any additional questions or information, they can find you online.
Yes.
You're on social media as well?
Yes.
Facebook?
Yes. Instagram. All of that
Twitter?
good stuff.
LinkedIn?
Yes.
Search it up and get more information on that. It'll be very beneficial for you if you ever run into that. But the InterCity thing, that could be very, very beneficial. Cool. Thank you very much for that. For those of you who are watching or listening for the first time, maybe this is some new information that you'll be looking for, but we've got tons of these podcasts out here. I think we're in the mid 40 range right now. You can go and search it on whatever platform that you like to listen to podcasts, the Coffee Break Podcast, or search Loc-Doc Security. You can find it there. Website is locdoc.net/podcast. You can find us on YouTube and everywhere else by searching for the Coffee Break Podcast or for Loc-Doc Security. More information with folks like this that are doing interesting things in the business world that will be beneficial to you. So check that out, and we will see you next time, next Tuesday, right here on the Coffee Break Podcast. To learn more about the topics discussed today and to connect with us online to hear all of the episodes available, visit locdoc.net/podcast.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
The Coffee Break Podcast is brought to you by Loc-Doc Security. We'd love to connect with you online on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Just search LOCDOCINC.